in the last video, we managed to get the entire front end of this Miata, I thought I was gonna walk into it, all cleaned up. So you can see right here in the daylight, tubing all good, you know what I mean? Brand new coil rod in there, running all good now. So that's sick. Just still need to put some hood pins in there and then it'll be good. But anyways, now we're gonna move on to the fun part of the car, which is what we've all been waiting for, and that is doing the long travel suspension setup on it. We're gonna start off with doing the front end first, right? So we're gonna get all of this super wide, long travel-y boys, and yeah, take care of this front end over here, and then we'll move on to the back. So I'm gonna give you an overview on how we're gonna achieve this long travel setup on the car. So I have the stock front upper control arm here, as well as the stock, you know, front bottom control arm. And I'm essentially gonna make longer ones of the stock arms. So I gotta make a jig for these, jig them all up, and then after that, extend these 2 points, you know, back about a foot or so. We're gonna see how much we really need. I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna extend all the arms about a foot. So it's gonna be a foot wider than stock on each side. So the Miata will be 2 feet wider than a stock Miata. Pretty sick, right? Some of you guys are gonna be wondering how exactly that's gonna make it a long travel setup. And basically, we're not really gonna change any of this OEM suspension angles. So we're still gonna end up with good bump steer, I believe, good suspension geometry, you know what I mean? All the camber gain and toe gain throughout the whole stroke should be more or less like a stock Miata, which is gonna be good. But the reason that we're gonna be gaining travel is by extending the arms, as I will demonstrate using this setup right here. So basically, you know, your stock suspension travel is something like this, right? Okay, now when you extend this arm, let's say like a foot longer, all right, we'll just do some over dramatization, but basically this arm still moves the same as it does stock, but clearly, as you can see from out here, you gain way more travel from it. So I mean, it's a pretty simple concept. You're basically gaining travel by making all your arms longer. So for instance, if each arm was like 2 miles long, going down just like 5 degrees, but it extends 2 miles out, you know, obviously you're gonna, you know, now you have like a ton of travel. So we're basically gonna get our long travel set up just by extending the arms. And I really think this is gonna work out well and give it a good suspension feel. Now to accomplish that, I basically need to make up a jig on here so that way I can put the stock arm on there. And then after that, you know, blah, blah, blah with the stock arm, push it back, you know, about a foot or so. And then from there, we'll have a jig to make extended tubular control arms for our long travel setup. Anyways, I'm gonna figure this out and update you in a bit. Anyways, you get the point. But yeah, dudes, I mean, that's big progress right there, getting those upper control arms done. I gotta do the bottom ones. So this is the jig setup that I got going on. So basically I bought this steel tube that fits perfectly with the inner diameter on this around the ball joint cup, and then same up top, and then I have it clamped together so that way the ball joint area is going to be level and I can actually have a reference point for that. So I get a weld around here. So, you know, obviously when I saw the arm off, I have a reference point for where to keep the ball joint at. And then, yeah, and that's all flat on both sides. Then over here, got some spacing to keep it parallel with the square tubing that's going along over here. And then of course we got these 1/8 inch plates with some holes in it that we're going to be using for the jig. So these are going to get welded to this beam, which is also squared off over here. And then this is going to be our stock reference point. And then after this, once we chop right there, I can go ahead and then slide this tube down however long I want it to be. And of course, since the bushing is parallel, just like exactly how it should be with the stock arm, I'm going to have all the same stock arm geometry, but at whatever length I want to end up making this arm. And then I'm going to end up using some self-tapping screws and then just self-tap down in this position. So this is going to be like the stock position, and I could screw it there. And then I'm going to bring it down over here to like the 12-inch position or whatever, and then screw it down right there, and that'll be like, you know, 12-inch extended or whatever the setup is. So anyways, now I got to weld that. Situation, the stock jig is now complete. Here we have it for the front upper control arm. You can see the self tappers in there. This is all welded over here. This is welded over here. The ball joint, obviously, you can't even move it because it's so tight around that. These all bolt up. So if I cut this arm right now, move these self tappers, I'd be able to move the suspension points all the way as far back as I want it to go. And then, you know, tube it all up or box it or whatever I want to do with it. And then get my new extended control arms. Now here is the front lower control arm, and I gotta repeat basically the same exact process with this. Yay! This video is brought to you by Haviland Smart Change. I know you're probably asking, hello Mr. Offbeat, what is Haviland Smart Change? Well, let me tell you. Haviland Smart Change is the same great Haviland oil on the inside, this time in a more eco-friendly container that uses 70% less plastic. Haviland has done this by using a cardboard box that then has a plastic bag on the inside filled with oil. Inside this box, we're gonna get 6 quarts of oil rather than our traditional 5 quarts, so 20% more oil, yet still at a low price of $19.97. This product is also very easy to use, and that is because it features a fast glug-free pour in order to reduce spillage in your engine bay. It also features a cutout right here where you can check the oil level inside the container. If you guys are interested in the Haviland Smart Change, it is available at Walmart as well as walmart.com. Full synthetic is only $19.97 for 6 quarts, and Walmart also provides free store pickup as well as free 2-day shipping. So whether it's drifting, off-roading, or daily driving, Haviland has you covered. All right, so after legit hours of planning this out and thinking about it, came up with this setup right here. So I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of how we're jigging it up. Because honestly, jigging it up is majority of the time that's spent on here because there's a lot of thought process involved, and obviously just trying to get everything mounted before you weld it is its own whole process, right? So first of all, we have another bracket made here, which is gonna be for the lower control arm jig. So we have one of these cut, welded all the way out. And after that, a magnet over here, magnet over there, so that way we can tell that it's square, right? That way when we move it back and forth, we can also make sure it's all square. We have a 1, 2, 3 block over here, which is basically just a 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inch block. And so that's set up against this plate right here, so that way we know that this pivot point right here is basically parallel with the jig. So when we slide it back, you know, maintain same geometry and all that sort of thing. Over here was the hard part, because I wanted to make one jig that I could then make 2 sets of arms on, because on the other side, it's basically the same exact setup over here, but the mounting point for the ball joint is different and stuff like that. The only way to make one jig that's good for both lower control arms up front was to basically use this one point over here for the ball joint. So that way we got ball joint, control arm pivot point, and I'm going to do another bracket out there for that pivot point. And the only way to keep this nice and straight and to make sure whichever arm you're putting on here is going to be straight, I found this point was pretty much like a 90 right there, so I put a piece of 1/8" steel. That one is getting clamped to the back of this piece, so that way we can weld all this on down here, and that way no matter what the arm is or however you split the arm, it will always maintain the same angle. That's because I have half a ball joint welded in over here that's running alongside here, so basically the arm against the plate, constantly keeping that angle, so even if I saw this in half right here, this still would not droop down or droop up, and I wouldn't have to try and find that perfect level, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a lot to explain, and unless you see it in person, it won't really make too much sense to you, but yeah, there's obviously quite a lot that went into that thought process right there. But now it's finally jigged up, so I can go ahead and tack it in place and then get all the pivot points supported. I just came up with some super smart jigging and I want to share it with you guys. Here's the ball joint end of the control arm. Here's my 3/16" plate, which I'm going to use to make all my tubing weld to. And then I basically got a 90 over here, so that way we can make sure it's also, you know what I mean, 90 with the bottom of the ball joint, so the ball joint and everything, all that is a good angle. And make sure it's all even, and then ends up being the perfect height for spacing. So weld, and yeah. See what I'm saying? Nice, right? I'm gonna lay a full bead on this, but before I do that, I'm gonna make the rest of the control arm, just in case I need to make any adjustments or anything. I don't actually fully weld it until it's finalized. So check out how dope this is, right? I have the front part of my arm over here. I got the back part with the joints. Right, slide it back to approximately here. So let's see where the mark was. This was almost, wow, that's actually really perfect. It was almost directly at 12 inches. And I want to do 12-inch extended LCAs. Magnet. So now the lower control arm is 1 foot longer than what it is stock, right? So I can just make up my tubing over here, boom, have it welded over there, and I'm gonna have a 1 foot longer tubular control arm. Well, it took a bit of time, but here is the mark for the OEM arm location on the jig, and then here it is 12 inches extended, so 1 foot extended control arms. If you guys want to do a comparison, that's basically the stock arm, and this is the new one that we're going to make. Now comes the time in the process where I'm going to go and cut out all my tubing and notch it correctly, and that way make a whole tubular arm. Yay. Halfway done on these upper arms, tubing coming out. I got this plate over here. Now I just need to figure out what angle I want to do. I'm going to get a piece of tubing, notch it to sit over here, and then come over here, notch it to meet up with the tube. So it'll be like shk, shk, and then just trim these down. Here's my template for the tubing. You can see the notches on there. When it's done, then when it's all notched out, it looks like this. And go ahead and put on the control arm like that. Alright, so these are all the templates that I've gone through now in order to get all the pieces of tubing notched up to make 2 arms. Also have these additional 2 over here. And for jigging up the arm, I just used a stack of wood, sliding it down until, you know, this matches up right there. Nice angle. That way I can put my my piece right there, and I know it's all lined up and the arm isn't down here and the notch is just rotated upwards to meet over here, right? Small little tidbit for how I mocked it up and got everything jigged up, and now I just gotta weld everything together. Lit. We're done welding. Take it off the jig. There we have it right there. We got both the upper control arms fabbed up on the jig. Oh yeah. Of course, I'm going to continue with this line right here and cut off the tube like so. So that way, you know, it actually looks nice. Doesn't have all this excess tubing right there. But obviously that tubing is just to make it easier for welding everything up. That way you don't cut anything too short, right? I'm also gonna leave everything just tacked right now because I don't wanna run full beads on everything until I have both the bottom control arms, top control arms, and then probably the coilover mounted. That way I get all that finalized, and I'll throw everything back on the jig and then lay beads on everything, make sure it's all 100%. That wraps it up for this video. Next video, I'm gonna be wrapping up the whole long travel setup on the front end. So I'm gonna be stoked on that because it's actually gonna get to sit on the ground having the full front end together. But anyways, thank you again to Haviland for supporting this build. If you guys like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to stay updated on the progress, make sure to subscribe and keep your notifications on. Other than that, follow me on Instagram, offbeat_garage, as well as check out the store, offbeatgarage.com. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.